As Congress nears a final vote on rescinding federal funding for public media, we have watched the story unfold here in Chattanooga and the Tennessee Valley. This station, WUTC, a service of the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, is the NPR member station for this area, while the local PBS member station is WTCI PBS. Both of our stations receive part of their funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Bob Culkeen is president and CEO of WTCI PBS. Susan Lazenby is our interim station manager here at WUTC. Bob, Susan, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ray.
It's always good to see you, Ray. Thanks for having me.
The story in Washington is changing from hour to hour with each twist and turn in Congress, so let's focus on our community. What's at stake now for public media as we know it here in Chattanooga and the Tennessee Valley?
Let's talk about a project that we've been working on all year.
That sounds great. I'd like to do that.
We were funded with a grant from CPB. It was what they call a FAR grant, and we did research and we looked at what we can do together cooperatively.
That's absolutely true.
And our staffs were just incredible. We had listening sessions with people throughout our community talking about what public media means to Chattanooga. We've spent a full year doing that.
That's true. When I came here as station manager, that's how I feel like got immersed with public media here in Chattanooga. It was working with you and your team and our team and having all these meetings to see what opportunities we could bring to this community.
Absolutely. Today, or earlier this morning, you highlighted a program called the A-List with Allison Lebovitz, and it was just cross-promotions. And we're looking at cross-promotions. We're looking at content creation. We're looking at some shared positions. We're looking at things that we could do together funded by CPB. Now, to continue forward, we needed to apply for another CPB grant.
That's true. We were doing great in the grant process.
Yes.
We had all those meetings where our staff interacted well together, and we had a lot of brainstorming sessions. And I was really looking forward to the educational programming that we discussed on having and really sharing with the community what WTCI and WUTC are doing and all the benefits that we bring, but in a collective manner.
That's right. And so we're getting ready to apply for another grant from CPB. That grant's not going to be available from CPB, so we're not going to move forward with that project. That's disappointing. That's immediate. That is a result of these devastating cuts.
That is true. I am really sad about that. And while we're still valued colleagues and we'll do our best to work together, we don't have the funding resources now to actually make some of these dreams a reality for the Chattanooga area and region. This isn't just about what benefits WUTC. It's about what's good for Chattanooga and what's good for UTC and what's good for the community.
Exactly.
Bob, you are a veteran of public media. Like me, you moved to Chattanooga to work in public media. Susan, you and I are more recent arrivals to public media, while you are also from here. Each of you, please share your perspectives on the value of public media in Chattanooga and the Tennessee Valley. You've touched on it some already, just thinking about our campus here at UTC to how we partner for our community and beyond that.
Let's go back to COVID. It was a pandemic we were faced with, and how we changed our model and how we continued to serve our community. We're up against it. We put it all together. We actually, I want to say we were like first responders to the education system. We lit up a new channel at WTCI that was WTCI Educate, and our education program is thriving. Going out into community centers, working with our PBS educational sources that we have, all the things that we do with teachers and at-home learning environments, community centers, all those kind of things are educationally based community engagement. These cuts are devastating for that. Our Ready to Learn, a grant that we got from CPB, was clawed back. That was $30,000 that was left on the table that we still had for projects that we were doing this fiscal year that were brought back. So we lost that. When you think about forward funding for Corporation of Public Broadcasting and public media was just in case Congress decided they wanted to change the course. We had 2 years to put together a very structural transitional plan. Right now, that plan has gone out the window. We have to do it now. So some of the things that we thought we were going to be able to do, we have to do it. For what? $1.60 per person, basically what it equates to. And think about the public safety aspect of what we do. Every NPR station is an emergency alert system. They broadcast that out over the airways. PBS stations do the same thing. Congress had said, well, you know what? We don't need CPB to get that message out. Well, CPB doesn't create the message. But what they do is the infrastructure that we have in place is supported by CPB. So if the station goes dark and the message there, how can you deliver that message without a station? That's devastating too.
Yeah, there was an interesting story that I read last night from NPR, and it was about the tsunami warning that was
in Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. And there are lots of swaths of the United States that just don't have a lot of coverage, and they've got National Public Radio coverage, and they get the alerts on the radio that said, go to higher land, there's a tsunami warning. There were 3 people in that station that stayed in a precarious situation just to make sure that their listening audience could know about that warning and get the alerts that they needed. So I think that's pretty critical.
And just to bring it back around, Bob, I remember this early in the pandemic. This is before Susan joined us here at WUTC, how WTCI, you had just gotten here. I had been here for a year. I wasn't here long, but you had just gotten here when everything shut down. And how you and the team partnered with the Hamilton County Schools.
Yes, sir.
And you went on your air with the call-ins.
Yes, sir.
And we simulcasted that here on WUTC in a very different setting from where we're speaking right now. So this all comes back around.
Yeah, and that's all community engagement, community responses, fantastic storytelling. What we were doing that night is telling the story of what was happening at the Hamilton County Schools.
And let people who had their own stories to share as part of that broader story tell their story.
Yeah. So those type of things are all challenged. Right now, those are all challenged. We get $900,000, a little over $900,000 for federal support for our station. It's a little more than a third of our budget. And you just do the math and you'll say there's some challenges that we have to really work through. Looking for local philanthropic type support, looking for other people, area businesses that want to support us, looking for additional revenue sources that can help our stations to move what we do to continue to sustain our operation is a priority. I'm committed to WTCI, helpful and work with you guys here at WUTC. It's important work that we do for our community. I consider it essential work in our community. I'm also on the PBS Board of Directors. And when I look at the national level of what's happening with our infrastructure, these are going to be some real challenges for PBS stations. There are some PBS stations I made reference to, 34% of our budget is covered by federal funding. There's some stations out there that are up to 50%. Those stations are going to go dark. We can say today that we reach out to 98% of America between radio and television. That's not going to be the case in the future with these devastating cuts.
Whatever the final outcome in Congress, it's expected to be very close. What do you say to people here in Chattanooga and the Tennessee Valley who are critical of public media, as we have heard in Congress, whatever their views? What work do we in public media need to do, whatever the outcome, to reach them going forward?
We continue to work with our audiences, our supporters. I'll get calls from people that just listened to a story and wanted to talk about what they heard on the air. Some people challenge it. Some people are just really supportive of what we do and how we do it. It's more of that. And how can I help you continue to do what you do? I've had people say, I can only give you $5 a month. And I said, that's $5 more than zero. So you work with every person in this community. We're free over the air. Both our stations are. And the support that we get from our audiences is so critical. And we're going to have to continue to build on that. Working with philanthropic-minded people in our community to tell our story, what we do, the impact that we make. You know, when we did the great digital conversion and we had antennas and we had converter boxes and things like that, you know what we did in public media? We went to people's houses to show them how to hook it up. That's what public media does. We go out and we work with people. We help them. We understand, and we want this to continue. I do have people say, well, you're biased. And I'll ask for, give me an example. And they can't. They won't say it. Oh, well, someone told me you were biased. And I was like, well, give me an example. And it's like, I haven't heard a solid example about it, because when I listen to NPR and I watch PBS, I really feel that they're truth tellers. They are middle of the road. If you listen to one story that you might say leans left, there's going to be another story that counters that in that same broadcast. So we are free, over-the-air, public television, public radio, and it's an essential service in our community. And with these cuts, it's going to be a devastating type of blow for all of us.
If the final vote goes that way, that's what happens.
That's right. That's what happens.
I think this is a good moment, Bob, for us to say to our listeners that tune in every day for Scenic Roots and tune in to these other wonderful things that we have both on WTCI and WUTC. We are about storytelling and we're about community, but we are, even though we're talking to you, we're about listening. And like Bob said, we want to hear your stories and we want to hear what's important to you, and we're doing our best to get out there in the community, and we want to continue to do that. So I would encourage each of you to reach out to us at WUTC.org and make a donation to our station and contribute what you can, and we'll be in touch about larger needs in the future. Bob, how can people donate to WTCI?
The best way to donate to WTCI is go to WTCITV.org. There's a donation button right there. But like Susan says, we're about listening. So if you have a story about public media, let us know. If you have a concern about what's happening in our world, let us know. It's important that we listen to our community and we act upon what we hear. And that's the difference with what we do in public media.
Absolutely.
All right. Bob, Susan, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Ray. A pleasure to be on this show. You do some great work for our community.
Thank you.